The desert highway outside Flagstaff, Arizona, was almost empty as Officer Emily Carter finished the last stretch of her night patrol. The sky was darkening into deep purple, and the air carried a cold bite that slipped through her uniform. Emily had been on the force for 5 years, known among her colleagues for her calm judgment and steady nerves. That night felt routine, until it wasn't. A pickup truck suddenly swerved across lanes ahead of her. Emily reacted instantly, hitting the siren and accelerating. The truck sped up instead of pulling over. The chase lasted only a few tense minutes before the truck clipped her patrol car near a curve. Metal screamed against metal. Emily's vehicle spun, slammed into the guardrail, and came to a harsh stop on the gravel shoulder. For a moment, there was only silence. Her ears rang. The world felt distant, as if wrapped in thick cotton. Emily tried to move but felt a sharp pain shoot through her left leg. She forced herself to breathe slowly, checking her arms, her ribs, her head. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead, warm against the cold air. The pickup truck was gone, its taillights disappearing into the dark like a bad memory fleeing the scene. She reached for her radio. The screen was cracked, the signal dead. Her phone had flown somewhere onto the floor. Emily knew this stretch of road well. Long, isolated, with miles between exits. Backup could take time even if she managed to call. The wind whispered across the desert, rattling dry brush and making the darkness feel heavier. Emily leaned back against the seat, fighting the urge to panic. Training kicked in. Stay conscious. Stay visible. She turned on the emergency lights, though one flickered weakly. The pain in her leg grew worse, a deep, throbbing ache that told her something was wrong. Still, she told herself help would come. It always did. Then she heard it, a low rumble at first, like distant thunder. It grew louder, stronger, until multiple engines echoed across the open land. Headlights appeared in the distance, dozens of them, moving together in a tight formation. Motorcycles. Emily's heart rate jumped. She had heard the stories, the stereotypes whispered in locker rooms and online forums. Alone, injured, and stuck on a dark road, she suddenly felt very small. Her hand rested near her belt out of instinct, though she knew she couldn't stand, couldn't run. The bikes slowed as they approached the wrecked patrol car. One by one, they pulled over, forming a wide circle that blocked the road from both directions. Engines cut off. The sudden quiet was almost louder than the noise had been. Men and women stepped off the motorcycles, silhouettes in leather jackets and helmets. Patches glinted faintly under the flashing red and blue lights. Emily swallowed hard, keeping her voice steady as she called out that she was a police officer and injured. For a long second, no one spoke. Then a tall biker removed his helmet and raised both hands calmly, signaling the others to stay back. He took a few slow steps toward the patrol car, his boots crunching on gravel. "Easy, officer," he said in a low, controlled voice. "We saw the lights. You're not alone now." Emily looked at him, uncertainty mixing with exhaustion. She didn't yet know what would happen next, but in that moment, the night took a turn she never could have expected. The man's calm voice cut through the tension, and Emily felt a small weight lift from her chest. He motioned to the others, and the group moved with surprising order. No one rushed her, no one shouted. It was as if they had done this before, not the crash, but helping someone in need. A woman from the group stepped closer, kneeling beside the open driver's door, her expression focused and serious. "Don't try to move," she said gently. "We'll take care of things until help arrives." Emily nodded, wincing as pain pulsed through her leg. The gray-bearded man introduced himself simply as Jack. He asked where she was hurt, listened carefully, and relayed the information to another biker who was already on the phone with emergency services. Emily noticed how clearly he spoke, giving mile markers and directions with precision. Whoever these people were, they weren't reckless. They were prepared. 2 bikers positioned their motorcycles farther up and down the road, turning on hazard lights to warn approaching traffic. Another retrieved a first aid kit from a saddlebag and handed supplies to the woman beside Emily. With steady hands, she cleaned the cut on Emily's forehead and applied a bandage, explaining each step before she did anything. "You're doing great," she said. "Just keep breathing." The cold night air was creeping in, but someone gently placed a jacket over Emily's shoulders. The leather was warm from the ride, and the simple gesture nearly brought tears to her eyes. She had expected fear, maybe hostility. Instead, she found herself surrounded by quiet concern. As minutes passed, Emily became more aware of the pain and the exhaustion settling into her bones. Jack stayed nearby, occasionally checking her pulse and asking questions to keep her alert. He told her the group was on a long charity ride across several states, raising money for injured veterans and first responders. That detail struck her deeply. Red and blue lights appeared in the distance, followed by the sound of sirens. Relief washed over Emily as the ambulance and another patrol car arrived. Paramedics took over quickly, praising the bikers for stabilizing the scene and providing accurate information. As Emily was carefully moved onto a stretcher, she caught glimpses of the group stepping back, giving space, their job done. Before the ambulance doors closed, Jack approached once more. "You're going to be okay, officer," he said. "Rest now." Emily managed a small smile. "Thank you," she replied. "All of you." At the hospital, doctors confirmed a fractured leg and a concussion, but nothing life-threatening. In the following days, the story spread. A passing driver's dashcam footage showed the bikers blocking traffic, tending to Emily, and working calmly with first responders. The video went viral, shared by thousands across the country. Public reaction was overwhelming. Messages poured in praising the bikers for their integrity and compassion. News outlets picked up the story, calling it a reminder that character isn't defined by appearances or rumors. Months later, when Emily returned to duty, she carried that night with her. It reshaped her assumptions and strengthened her belief in people. Sometimes, help comes from the most unexpected places, and sometimes, strangers on a dark American highway can restore faith better than words ever could. Emily's recovery took longer than she expected. Weeks passed in physical therapy rooms filled with the smell of antiseptic and the quiet encouragement of therapists counting steps and seconds. Her fractured leg healed slowly, each small improvement hard-earned. Some nights, when the hospital was quiet, her mind drifted back to that stretch of highway, the flashing lights, the cold wind, and the unexpected circle of motorcycles that had appeared out of the darkness. What surprised her most was how often the memory brought comfort instead of fear. Cards and letters began arriving at the station addressed simply to Officer Emily Carter. Many were from strangers who had seen the video online. Some thanked her for her service. Others mentioned the bikers, saying the story had changed how they viewed people they once judged too quickly. One envelope contained a short note signed by Jack and the road crew, wishing her strength and a smooth recovery. Emily read it more than once. When she was finally cleared to return to light duty, her first day back felt unreal. The familiar sound of radios, the hum of conversations, and the weight of her badge grounded her. Fellow officers welcomed her warmly, but there was something new in their tone, respect mixed with reflection. The story had reached them too. A few months later, Emily received an invitation she didn't expect. A local community center was hosting a joint event, a safety fundraiser organized by several biker groups and supported by first responders. Jack's name was listed among the organizers. After some hesitation, Emily decided to go. The day of the event, she stood in uniform at the edge of the parking lot, watching motorcycles roll in one by one. Families gathered, kids laughed, and music played softly in the background. It looked nothing like the frightening image many people imagined. When Jack spotted her, recognition crossed his face, followed by a warm smile. "Looks like you're back on your feet," he said, offering a respectful nod. "Thanks to people like you," Emily replied honestly. They talked for a while, about the ride, the fundraiser, and the night of the crash. Emily learned that several members of the group had backgrounds in emergency response. Helping others wasn't an exception for them, it was a value they lived by. As the event continued, Emily watched bikers teaching children about road safety and officers chatting easily with people they once only saw from a distance. That day stayed with her. Back on patrol weeks later, Emily approached her work with a renewed perspective. She still followed the law firmly, but with deeper patience and understanding. She knew now that people were rarely just one thing. Labels failed where actions spoke clearly. Late one evening, while driving another quiet highway, Emily passed a group of motorcycles heading the opposite direction. As they crossed paths, One rider lifted a hand in a brief, respectful wave. Emily smiled and returned the gesture. The road stretched ahead, dark and open, but it no longer felt lonely. The story of that night continued to circulate, not as a tale of danger, but as proof that compassion could appear where least expected. For Emily, it became a reminder she carried into every shift, that trust can be rebuilt, bridges can form, and sometimes, the most powerful moments happen far from the spotlight, on an empty American road under a wide, endless sky. Time moved forward, but the impact of that night never truly faded. Emily noticed changes not only in herself, but in the way people around her spoke about trust and community. At roll calls and training sessions, her supervisors sometimes referenced the incident, not as a warning, but as an example of cooperation beyond uniforms and labels. It became a quiet lesson passed along to new recruits. Judge situations carefully, but never judge people too quickly. One afternoon, Emily was assigned to a community outreach program focused on road safety. The department wanted to build better relationships with local rider groups, and given her experience, Emily was asked to help coordinate. At first, the responsibility felt heavy. She knew not everyone would be open-minded. Still, she accepted, believing the effort was worth it. The first meeting took place at a small town hall just outside the city. Rows of folding chairs filled the room. On one side sat officers in uniform. On the other, bikers in casual clothes and leather vests. The air was tense at first, filled with cautious silence. Emily stepped forward and told her story, not dramatically, but honestly. She spoke about fear, pain, and expectations, and how those expectations had been completely overturned by simple human decency. As she finished, the room felt different. Shoulders relaxed. A few heads nodded. Conversation started where silence had been. Over the next several weeks, joint programs took shape. Bikers volunteered as escorts for charity runs and funeral processions. Officers provided safety training and legal guidance for group rides. Slowly, mutual respect replaced suspicion. Emily watched friendships form where none had existed before, and it filled her with a quiet sense of pride. One evening, during a charity ride dedicated to injured first responders, Emily stood near the starting line. Hundreds of motorcycles waited, engines humming softly. She looked at the riders, men and women of all ages, and realized how wrong it was to reduce people to stereotypes. When the ride began, the sound wasn't threatening. It was powerful, united, and purposeful. Later that night, Emily drove home along a familiar highway. The road reflected the sunset in soft shades of orange and gold. She pulled over briefly at the same mile marker where her accident had happened months before. The guardrail had been repaired. Fresh lines marked the pavement. To anyone else, it was just another stretch of road. For Emily, it was a place of transformation. She stood there for a moment, breathing in the open air. The memory no longer carried fear or pain. Instead, it carried gratitude. That night had shown her that courage doesn't always wear a badge, and kindness doesn't follow a dress code. As she returned to her car, Emily felt ready for the unknown roads ahead, ready for challenges, and ready to believe in people again. The story that began with a crash had grown into something larger, a reminder that humanity often reveals itself in the most unexpected ways, and that even on the darkest roads, help can arrive with the sound of engines and the strength of compassion.